Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. It's amazing that even though the change or difference in time zones, you found the time to join us. And what what we will do, since we are only 11 people right now, it means that we can talk. So if someone wants to say something, please raise your hand, and then you can unmute yourself and make the remarks. We created this working group about the museum definition because for us that were in Kyoto, you probably remember that during the General Assembly, the executive board proposed a new definition for what is a museum. This new definition was proposed after a work of about 3 years of a committee that was assigned to make kind of research and conversations and interview among the members to try to understand what do they think about the museum definition. But we were kind of surprised to hear the new proposal, because we got the text of the proposal only, I think, 4 or 5 days before the General Assembly, and it surprised us. So there was a lot of opposition to these new proposals, and the decision at the General Assembly was to postpone the voting of this new definition. And there was a new version of the Museum Definition Committee that created, and they are supposed to be working from 2019 up to 2022, when there is the next triennial meeting in Prague, and then there is going to be a new vote for the definition. And in the meanwhile, we are being asked to discuss the new definition amongst our members, to try to see whether we approve it, whether we have some remarks about the definition, and so on. And this is what we are going to do today, is to try to discuss this proposition. And I must apologize, because I'm not a very fluent English speaker. It's not my native language. So in time to time, I need to look at my notes to see what I need to say. So my apology to people who, and be patient. I prepared a slide. And this is a concise history about the committee that was starting to work in 2016, and what happened in 2019, that we postponed the decision. And this is the timeline for the new committee. And as you can see, they are supposed to invite all NCs and ICs to participate in the process of creating a new definition. And during June, we are supposed to contact all our members and to encourage them to participate in the process of creating a new museum definition in line with the methodology proposed by the committee. And in July, the end of July, we are going to have the advisory meeting and the General Assembly that usually takes place in Paris. We are going to have it a virtual meetings, and probably we will ask to present our opinions, even though the real voting is going to be only on 2022. This was a proposition. We don't really know what's going on, because as much as I hear, some of the members of this committee resigned, probably because there is rumors that the executive board is insisting on keeping the original proposition of the new definition, and there is a lot of opposition to that, as we know from Kyoto. So before we start discussing, I went to the dictionary and tried to look what is the meaning of the word definition. And from two different origins, I read that the act of defining or making something definite, distinct, or clear. The formal statement of meaning, of significance of word, phrase, idiom, etc., or in the Webster dictionary, a statement of the meaning of a word or word group, a statement expressing the essential nature of something, the action or the power of describing, explaining, or making definite and clear. And I think this is very important to bear in mind when we discuss definition, because to my understanding, definition is something that needs to be clear, short, and precise. And I'm not sure this is what the new definition is answering. And I just go on, and this is a short history of the definition of museums. ICOM was established in 1946. And you can see the definition. It was a museum, includes all collection open to the public of artistic and so on. And I highlighted the main issue, which was that it concerned collections. But in 1951, there was some more sentences added to the definition, and it says that it needs to be a permanent establishment administrated for the purpose of serving and studying, exhibiting to the public, and so on. In 61, there was another discussion and voting for a new definition, and here you can see that the purpose of study, there was adding of the education and enjoyment to the definition. In 1974, they added the sentence of non-profit making and the service for society and its development. And in 1988, it was almost the same like the 1974. And also in 1995 and 2001, actually it was the same definition. And this is the current one, which says the addition to this one was that it should be about the tangible and intangible heritage of humanity and its environment. And now I want to go back to seeing you. Okay. So you can see that it is interesting to see that during the years, the definition, the emphasis of the definition was going from the basic of collections to the public. And I think this is a very important thing, because it shows the history or the movement of the perception of what is museum, because from only collections and materials, it went to consider the public and the public needs and the social purpose of museums. A week ago, I think, Fedra, we sent a questionnaire to you to asking you to elaborate about the museum definition. And we asked you to mention 3 points that you would like to keep in the current the definition, and 3 points that you might want to change in the current definition. So if everyone wants to share or to think what he thinks about the current definition, invited to raise his hand and make a remark. Who wants to? Nobody? You're silent. If someone needs to talk, please unmute yourself.
I am not sure about your question.
Oh, okay. There is usually when you have a definition, you basically agree with it, but you might find some things that you would like to change in the definition. So what we asked from you was to try to pick 3 items in the definitions that you would like to keep, and 3 items that, to your opinion, is missing in this definition that you would like to add. So this was what we asked, and we had very few responses. Unfortunately, only 9 responses. And if there is someone here who would like to say something, what your opinion about the current definition, or can you see something that is missing in this current definition? So you're welcome to report. Yes, Anna.
First of all, I answered, right? So one of the answers is mine. But anyway, I think this is not a definition. What they are suggesting, it's far too long, and it's like they've tried to include everything, and so it doesn't say much. Okay, if we compare what I would imagine in my head that the thing would be around, comparing to the last definition or the definition that it's still on, it talks about collections, it talks about research, and then it talks about enjoyment and things like that. Well, I think this third, let's say, leg, it's not so much enjoyment, but it's the relationship with the users and the citizens, and that is for what in both ways, so that we give them things, but they also give us things, and we need them to know which way we have to move on. So this third part, to me, it's incomplete. And then I think what's most important, there should be a fourth leg, which is all the social uses of the museum, which nowadays we should not have museums that are not socially active. And that means, being active to help for societal change, for inclusion, for empowering citizens, for gender issues, etc. And I think this, to me, the idea is not, if we want to have a new definition, is because we think there's something new happening. Well, this definition that is being proposed doesn't say much. It's just words and words and words. And I think we should try to suggest or to propose something much more specific. Of course, it's more difficult, but then we have to decide what is important. And to me, this is these four, I would say these 4 parts, which is all the heritage, the research, then what we teach, or the information we give and the information we receive, and this social part.
Anyone else want to remark? Yes, Pedra?
I just want to ask people, would you like to have a glance on the responses of the survey, although there's only few responses?
I made
Maybe
a...
have.
Nicholas, you answered.
Yes, I did, but maybe it would be interesting to see, even though there were only 9 people who answered the question, the question, maybe it would be interesting to see if there are something you can present, Fedra, from this survey. Before, of course, I would like to add something to what Anna said, but maybe first we should say a few words about the answers we got.
Okay, can you share it further, or you want me to? Pedra? Further, do you want me to remark on that? Pedra? Do you see you see the screen? Note if you see the screen. Fedra?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, because I opened up 2 accounts. I think maybe there's some technical problem. So probably Doris, sorry, would you like to
Okay,
share?
I will.
Sorry,
I will.
I found it very difficult.
I made a summary of this.
Oh, okay.
So I will try to share my screen. So this is the first question was please briefly mention 3 key topics that should be included in the museum definition. And as you can see from topic number 1, the one that was most answered was collections. And I think that maybe it's right, because collection is the basic. But you can see that the answer was preservation, natural world, non-profit, and collections. The second topic was 1% exhibition, 2% said engagement, 2% said inclusivity, 2% said education, and 2% said respect for the culture and people the museum represents, and social justice. The topic number 3, they said forum for discussion, cultural heritage, inspiring decolonization, and research. So these are the things that people thought that should be included in the museum definition. I need to see you. Should you want to see the others, or we discuss this before we go on? Because we have answers about the current definition, also we had answers about the new definition. You want to see the all results? Okay. Then we asked people briefly mention 3 points for preservation and 3 points for improvement in the existing museum settings. So points for preservation, which means that points to keep, was that the museum is a permanent, means continuity that is needed for the preservation of collections, democratic, impartiality, profession, acquire, conserve, research, non-profit, education, service, and short and general. I must say that some of these phrases that was mentioned here are not in the current definition. Also says precise, neutral and when established, heritage of humanity and its environment, and tangible and intangible heritage are included. Things to improve was that natural culture, planetary well-being, education, refine environment, define society, define acquisitions. Maybe the cultural enrichment is the purpose. I would put exhibit before communicate. It may have two purposes: to creating links between generations and communities. Service of, there was something to say about the service of society. Its development should be developed, and the term development should be challenged. What does it mean? Open to public, not just a space open to the public, not just a window to the collection. Need to specify the social and political role of museums. The active role of visitors and other people engaged with the museum is missing. Research should be more than foreground, also in the form of citizen science, non-profit, tangible and intangible heritage, and environment. Then we went to the new definition, and the things that people said that they should be kept. The point that got more people to say was critical dialogue, and I said that I think Anna mentioned that in her words that it should be a place for dialogue. That museum should be a place for dialogue. But then democratizing, transparent, planetary well-being, hold artifacts and specimens in trust, inclusive, non-profit, shortened, lack from the relationship. There was a lot of remarks about the current, and this is the things that should be improved for in the new definition. And you can see that there's a lot of referring to the word aiming to contribute to the dignity and social justice, global equality, and so on. And you can read better than I can say it in English, so you're invited to read. People ask, in the new definition, there's the word memories. People ask, what does it mean, memories? And some says it's too long, and maybe it's too ambitious to museums. And someone asked, what about museums in undemocratic countries? I think that this new definition was, its main purpose was to deal with undemocratic countries. I'm not sure it gives an answer to these museums. Polyphonic space, what means polyphonic space, and so on. So now I will go to see your face again, and Nicholas, you said you want to answer remarks.
Maybe it's an overall remark of, maybe not so overall, maybe to go on after Anna. I really, in fact, the social, the link with society is very important, and it can be, you can have different things behind that. And maybe one point that has been very strongly criticized against the new definition is it is because it is a bit a kind of, how to say, it introduced some relativism. Some people are afraid of the idea of that we can say everything and that everything could be presented in our museum. For instance, that the Earth is flat, or you can say whatever, and that has, for instance, French people as in France they make this kind of remark, and basically this deals with the relationship to knowledge. I mean, most of the time, or every time, we represent some academics knowledge, and we have to think of the gaps sometimes between our knowledge we represent and we use by studying our collections, for instance, and the gap between this knowledge and the knowledge in the society. And of course, probably we don't have to say to people, you have to think like this. Of course, that's very important. But at the same time, I think we should be this space where we can have a dialogue between this society and other representation on the world or different things. And we have to choose if we represent the academic knowledge or what else, you know, or we decide to be absolutely relativistic. I don't think most of us think so, but maybe it is not clear enough in the new proposal, because in the new proposal it is this kind of relativism. You can say everything, and maybe we should admit that we, in a sense, represent an academic knowledge. But by saying that, it's maybe a part of post-colonialism, because this kind of knowledge, academic knowledge, represent the knowledge based and formally developed in Western country and spread all over the world. So it's not so easy. But to me, it's a very important point. So maybe it's a part of the question of the society, and to me, that means that we must be a place when there can be a debate, but at the same time, we don't have to say to people what they have to think. I don't know if it's clear enough, but it's a kind of a problem to relation to knowledge, and it's not. We cannot say we can say everything, but at the same time, we must admit that we are we represent the academic knowledge in a sense.
So you refer to the natural history museums, because the definition is.
Yeah, but it could be also. Yeah, but it is the same, for instance, for history, anthropology, and many other topics. In fact, because when you build a discourse, a knowledge, you have to have a point from where you study the things. You cannot say, okay, we can say everybody can say whatever they want, you know, and for many topics and many museums, we are linked to the academic knowledge. It can be in life science, geology, or history and philosophy, or what else? Maybe not philosophy, but maybe more history, anthropology, and many other topics.
Okay. Can I ask you, you have a museum law in your country?
I don't know.
Okay. Does anyone has a museum law in their country?
What do you mean by a museum law? A definition of a museum?
In Israel, we have in the Book of Laws of the state, we have a museum law, which defines what a museum should be, what is the role of a museum, and if you keep the role of the museum, and then you become accredited and you get funded by the government. And they took the definition of what is a museum to the law. They took it from ICOM. So if I'm thinking about the new definition, taking it and putting that into the law, it means that almost anybody can be a museum. It's so wide, like Nicola said. It's very wide. It's very open. Everyone can be everyone can be a museum. I know that the background of this new definition was the approaching of the mostly third world countries that said that in a lot of indigenous places, when they want to build a museum, and they need a backbone or support that they can produce, that this is the definition of a museum, and they can become a museum. And this is one of the reasons that they decided to create this new definition. And you can see that a lot of things that are being said in this definition is referring to places where you cannot say out loud what you think. You have to allow everyone to get into the museum. You have to be able to create a free dialogue in the museum and so on. It's very obvious where these issues probably came from, but it means that almost everything can be a museum. So I don't know. So we became 19 now, and I don't see all of you. And also, I think that there is a lot of remarks in the chat. Fedra, can you follow the remarks and says if something is important said, so we can refer to?
Are you talking about the message?
Yes.
So I have to say I'm sorry, but I found I can't actually scroll the message.
Okay, I will try.
Yeah. Let me see.
See, Linda says that there is an accreditation process by the AAM, but no legal definition museum. There is, and the definition in the AAM is taken from the ICOM, or it's different, Linda? Linda? Linda?
She said she believes it's different.
Oh, okay. And do you know where they took it from?
This is very strange. Okay, so Linda says she's not sure. It's probably part of the ICOM.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know that there is a legal definition of a museum, and I think one of the concerns that I think people have on the old definition, and to Nicholas's comments, is whose knowledge are we talking about? Are we talking about the knowledge of the museum, the knowledge of the scientists? Are we talking about the perspective from Western culture, or are we looking at the knowledge of indigenous cultures? But that being said, if I could just chime in general, I do think we need to step back and look at this from a structural perspective. because Doritz, your definition of a definition was really helpful. I think in some ways we are trying to do too much in too small a space and making this very, very complicated, not that it shouldn't be, but making it complicated in a place where it shouldn't be. So if you kept the definition of a museum, thinking about the four walls of a museum and this is what's in it and this is what its mission is, I think it is, I think I would be fine with that. And leaving aside some of these other issues in the new definition. But I think structurally from an ICOM perspective, we have to get moving on a declaration or statement or something regarding the values that are reflected in the new definition, as well as, I feel, decolonization and repatriation. And again, I see that as an entirely, now, I see that as an entirely separate endeavor from working on a definition of a museum. Maybe it can somehow be linked, but I think that whole thing about decolonialization and reparation and indigenous, I mean, these are huge issues we are not going to get our heads around in a definition. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Okay. I don't see all of you, but does anyone else wants to make a remark from the people that we don't see? Crystal?
I agree with Linda. I think all those issues should not be addressed in one definition. So we stick to the core. What is a museum and what are we about? But we can't solve everything in the world in one museum definition. So these are very important subjects, and maybe too important to try to nail it down in a definition.
Right.
You know that when I studied business for a while, and then we studied that when you create a company, then you should have a vision, then you should have purpose, and then you should have points of act. So I think that this new definition is it's a kind of, it's a vision. It's not a definition. And as a mission, as a vision, I think it's very nice. I like almost every word in a social way. I like almost every word that it's written in the new definition, but when I think that I need to take this definition and use it as a definition, as the word definition means, I have a problem. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a conflict with me to try to say what I need, what I think, because it's socially is very interesting and very concise vision declaration, but I'm not sure it's a definition. So if you need to propose a definition, will you use the? I'm going back to the. I'm going to the beginning of the existing definition. If well, finally, we will have to vote, and probably in the current situation, I think that we need to oppose this new definition. But if we need to propose a new definition, would you use the existing one, or would you make some changes in the existing one so that we can propose? And Linda, I don't forget your proposition. We will go to that later, towards the end. So if everyone has something to say, and sorry, I don't. Anna, yes.
I think that we have to be very practical. There's many committees like us that have been asked. So if we try to invent a new definition, they're not going to even listen to us, right? So what we have to do is comment on something very general. For example, if we really believe it should be much shorter and concise, we should say it as a value of this definition, and then just give like 4 or 5 concepts that we think should not be laid aside. If we try to now, which is very complicated, I mean, look what's going on. We're not going to decide anything now and phrase it and prepare it, but maybe we can agree on some things that we think, should not be forgotten. But we have to, I think we have to suggest something that it's easy to be incorporated in the work they're doing. Because, well, this is my idea. Because I think the situation is very complicated now, as it is. And so, and we are not going to find out the fantastic definition just like this, So maybe it's easier to agree on things that should not be forgotten, and maybe we should be very strong. I mean, this is what I feel. I think what you can have a definition and then you can have a statement to go with it, but you cannot have a statement and a whole novel saying that this is a definition, because you read it and it doesn't say much. Anyway, this is my.
Okay. Anyone else would like to comment?
I don't know if you see me, Cristiane Silveira from Lisbon. I will say hi like that. Okay. Hi to everyone.
Hi.
Okay, just very quickly, in Portugal, there is a law that covers the establishment of museums, and the definition of museums is very, very close to the definition that you, Dorrit, presented here as the one from 2007. So saying that it's a no-profit, permanent, and promoting, and then even make it open to the public and to promote the building of a person and a society. Relating to the new definition, I think for the first paragraph, if I have the long definition, okay, with me here, in the first paragraph is a vision of what you should do, but not as a definition that we expected. So the most closest for the definition that I see in this is the second paragraph, when you really show things that is more updated. But the first paragraph is very driven to the present attitude because of the changes of the society now. I think there is a press to put something on this definition. This is why this first paragraph for me is very sort of political / attitude statement of what the society should be, and is not a definition of museum. So I think if they could stay on with only the second paragraph, will be closer to. And I think is the suggestion of not promote a new definition, but to make some comments on that one will be interesting. So is that.
I will just bring up the new proposition that anyone can. This is the new proposal, and you prefer to the paragraph that starts with the museum are non-profit. They are participatory, transparent, and work in active partnership with the diverse communities to collect, preserve, research, interpret, exhibit, and enhance understanding of the world, aiming to contribute to human dignity and social justice, global equality, and planetary well-being. You meant this paragraph?
Yes. The second part is, I think, it's well updated. What we need, it's a human dignity and social justice. So everything, but the first part, I think, is too much. Too much.
How about the second sentence?
Yeah.
Acknowledging and addressing.
I think if you aim to contribute to human dignity and social justice, you already acknowledge and addressing conflict and the challenge of the present. Yeah, but I understand what to say. The phrase is very nice. But a colleague referred for the 4 walls of a museum. So I think if you guarantee the place as a definition of a space that promotes all this, I think we will be very close to what we would like to.
Okay. Anybody else wants to remark? I would like to share with you. We previously discussed the museum definition, and Linda made collected our remarks and put them into the new definition. I will share it with you. This is, I'm sorry, but these technical issues, I have to, I hope we could meet face to face, because it's crazy. This is the definition that we said. You can see Linda's remarks. Linda, can you elaborate on this? Or?
Yes. In going through the proposed new definition, we had highlighted, and you'll see in the comments, our concerns that the museum was, that the definition was more of a mission statement, or as Dorrit says, a vision statement, and that we had concerns about how you would actually implement it. And then the same thing with the definition of memories and how you would handle, what really are we getting at? Same thing with equal rights and equal access. And finally, just that we felt that it was too broad and too political. And that's all I have on that. I think the new definition, if you all just want to take a look at it and read it, and I'll call it the third version, because this is just what the committee has been thinking about in terms of how we might address it. And this was done, I would say, about 6 months ago, and boy, has a lot changed in 6 months. And my first thought when I look at this is that it's probably too narrow for natural, because it's for natural history. It doesn't really talk about anything else. No one else I know talks about artifacts and specimens. So a lot of art museums don't necessarily have pasts with colonial pasts, etc. So I do think, and again, I want to go back to what I said earlier, a definition really should be short and sweet, and all of these political issues can be addressed, I think, elsewhere, but they must be addressed. But I would welcome feedback on this.
Anyone else wants to comment? Linda, I think that the definition and the definition and the vision that can be made. It's usually what it goes to the ICOM NOTS rules and regulation. What do you say? The other one? I don't know the word in English. They have the rules and regulations, but they have an statement. I don't know the word in English.
A mission statement?
Yeah, yes, but it's the ICOM as an organization. Okay, they have some kind of statement of mission that says what is a museum, who can be members of the museum. I don't remember the name of this. I know in Hebrew, but not in English.
Okay.
And there they can put an definition, and then they can put also the vision. I mean, they can say anything that they need. To my opinion, definition needs to be precise, short, and also can be measured. I mean, if museum want to be, if an institute wants to be a museum, and they say, here, let's go, this is the definition, I do that, and that, I can be a museum. So what they do can be measured, that can be checked, and be democratized, polyphonic it's very nice, but it's not measurable issues.
Here's Anita Hermannstetter from the Natural History
Hello,
Museum in
Anita.
Berlin. Hello, David. Nice to see you lively. I just wanted to share my thoughts with you. I was one of the person who participated in the survey, and I see a lot of pros for the current definition and a lot of pros for the new proposition. And looking back, as you, Dorit, when you gave your presentation, there was always, when changing the definition, it also always reflects a shifting in the museum's world towards our relationship between objects, the space, the people. And I think we are exactly at the same point, because looking at all the debate about decolonialization, and just a remark about art museums, German art museums, the discussion about repatriation started with German art museums, because there was a lot of exploitation of private owners in the Dritte Reich. So I think it's really, as I think it was Linda who said, it's really necessary to integrate this approach. This is the one point, the whole thing about justice, repatriation, decolonialization, and the other point, what is missing in the current definition, there is no active role of other groups or people outside the museum. It's just, it defines what we do inside, but there are a lot of people outside with a lot of interesting knowledge, and they just don't have a job in our museum, or they don't want it, but they have to add something. And this touches this whole discussion about citizen citizenship, about participation. And I think we are really at a point where it's a need to integrate these discussions, not in such an epic way as it's now described in the proposed definition. I agree with you, Dorit. It's more a vision than a definition. And but the screen was a little bit small. I couldn't read the text, but just looking a little bit at the proposal by Linda, I liked it a lot to reduce it and to transform it in a more specific definition, and also to make a difference, to say that there are many museums with a problematic past. So it's not all museums, but many of them, and they should address the past. I like this kind of making differences, and not including all for every museum. And maybe it could be a good way to work more, to be more specific and to differentiate. Do you say so? To make differences in the definition. But I really want to make a point for this new approach because it really touches not only current fashion problems, but really topics that touches us and our society, especially now and very hard in some countries. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else wants to? The text. Yes, I can see. Show the text. Can you see it? No, I didn't share. I didn't share the screen. Oh, technology, technology. Can you see it now? It's clear? I don't see your faces. You need to say something.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me too.
This is our proposal to the definition, and as Linda said, it refers to natural history museums, not to every museum. We looked at it as we see it, our mission as natural history museums. And you can see that museums hold and care for artifacts and specimens. These artifacts and specimens are held in trust for society. Museums are not for profit. Many museums share a past where artifacts and specimens came into collections through exploitation of people and culture. Today, museums reject this past practice and actively seek dialogue and relationship building with the people associated with their collections. Museums are participatory and transparent and work in active partnership with and for diverse communities to ethically collect, preserve, research, interpret, exhibit, and enhance understanding of the world, aiming to contribute to human dignity and planetary well-being. I need to remove it to see you. It's complicated. No. Oh, I can now. I can see you, and you can see part of the. So do you think that that we can use this statement to propose, or you have any comment on that?
I just have a question because now it's artifacts and specimens. Why isn't it tangible and intangible heritage? What was the decision against it?
I'm not sure there was a decision against it. I think it was a way to try to emphasize the thing that the connection to the indigenous people especially, but I think that you're right that we should stick to tangible and intangible, because even as a natural history museums, we do have some aspects that are not specimens but also knowledge that maybe we should keep. So maybe you're right that we need to refer also to the intangible heritage.
Yeah, we also have animal sounds archives and kind of intangible heritage in the Natural History Museum. So I would propose to keep it.
Okay. Anybody else wants to?
Me, just have a question, because in this definition, we have many museums share a past where artifact and specimen could be not a past but an heritage, because we also, for instance, we also collect things that are from nowadays, not only from the past. Well, maybe I don't understand the sentence.
Linda, can you elaborate on that? I think this is about the collected specimens.
Which part of the definition? I'm sorry.
Okay, turn on my microphone. The third sentence, many museums share a past where artifacts and specimens came into collections. Why is it share a past?
I think what I can tell you what my intent was, or what I was thinking when I drafted it. Many museums, meaning not all museums, many museums, primarily Western museums, share a past, and that means we share a past where we were colonial in nature. In other words, a lot of museums were created, again, not all, but many were created in the late 18th century by people, institutions, governments who were engaged in exploitation. So those museums share that past.
Okay, but I think it's maybe, to my point of view, is too limited, because we also collect different kind of object from today. In order, I mean, also in terms of environmental collection and from today. I mean, I'm a geologist, so I know what it means to have fossils, for instance, but for me, it's just part of our work as a Natural History Museum. We also collect objects that in the future will be object from the past. But I don't really like the idea that museum is only a collection from the past. It's a large part of our job, but not the only one.
Right.
Okay. Can you hear me? I understand what you would like to pass with this idea. It's not the past, but how most of the things were, in majority, were built. But I think for the ones that are better with the English, I think we could to keep this, but inside of the next sentence, that is a rejection of the museum from this past, okay? And they actively seek for dialogue. I think we could live without the sentence that Nicholas is talking about. Many museums share a past where artifacts and specimens can into collections through exploration of people and culture, and try to put this meaning of having exploration and all the culture in the next sentence, because the museums have some parts that are related with that, but want to reject this past and to look. Sorry, it's a way to say in English the part of reject this past, try to elucidate more what is this past, because all the rest of the sentence are okay. So just to find a way with the 2 or 3 words that if I read, I understand what you say about reject this past without having the sentence to explain to me. But I think it's a good way, because I think if you wanted to put recolonization, repatriation in this question, I think it's quite rich and well written. The part that say that we reject this past practice and actively seeking dialogue and relationship building with the people associated with these collections. So I think we don't need the sentence that Nicola was referring. I think we don't need that, but we needed to improve a little bit more this second part. And I like the rest.
Sorry. Anybody else wants to make a remark? I think that what we should do, Linda, is we will try to take all the remarks and try to make some changes in this. And can we put it on our website so anyone can have a look? And if they want to comment, they can remark, because I think this is the public place that everybody can see.
And just to make sure I understand with that particular sentence, the idea is to emphasize, to not, well, I guess my first question is that second sentence accurate? And then the next question I have is, should it be in the definition?
Could you read the second sentence so we know that you are talking?
Many museums share a past where artifacts and specimens came into collections through exploitation of peoples and cultures.
In my opinion, shouldn't be there.
Okay, but is it an accurate statement?
Depending, most of them yes, a lot no. But you can capture this meaning and to put in the next sentence when you say that we reject this sort of past and we try to build and
okay.
Yeah, but can I say something?
Yeah.
I don't. Yes. Maybe it's not 100% accurate, but anyway, why should it be there?
Right.
What we are talking about? What is a museum? Not something that happens in some museums. I mean, this is the problem with this definition. It is trying to put everything in there, even if everything at the same level, and that's. I don't think this is. I think this is wrong. I think we have to cut things out.
I think one of the things that we might do, and I'll read this after I say it so that you can get a feel for it, is to go back to our original discussion where we take out everything that doesn't talk, we take out what we call the political stuff and we stick to a straight definition. That would be, museums are not for profit, museums are participatory and transparent and worked in active partnership with and for diverse communities to ethically collect, preserve, research, interpret, exhibit, and enhance understandings of the world, aiming to contribute to human dignity and planetary well-being. And we're done.
We should add the thing that tangible and intangible. I didn't hear you saying that.
Oh, right. Okay. Museums hold and care for tangible and intangible cultural heritage.
Anybody? Comments?
I think as far as ICOM is concerned, that's basically going right back to square one. And that, that might be where we're, I don't know that we're adding anything to the conversation.
I think that we still can say that this is the definition, but we do think that the other issues that are raised in the new proposal should be a statement of mission or vision, because they are important. It's not that they are not important; they are important, and they represent the social role of museums nowadays. But it cannot be. To my opinion, it is difficult that they should be in a definition, because definition is it's a definition. So
right.
Anybody else wants to comment? Yes, Nicholas.
Sorry, yeah, of course, I made a bad interpretation of those sentences. Sorry, now I understand, but maybe we should only put awareness of his past and then go on the sentence with museum actively seek dialogue and relationship building with the people associated with their collections. If you want to, because to me it's too long, this part, and I don't think that in a definition we have to say what we did what we did bad.
So we would say that we rejected past practices, that we reject.
Just say awareness of his past.
Okay.
Something like this.
Okay.
It's shorter.
Okay.
I don't know that it would serve any purpose to reject past practices without saying what they are. I suppose there's some value in it. I don't disagree with that, but I think it gets back to this bigger question of should we be talking about it at all in a definition? So we can talk about it some more, and I think it should be up on the website so that we can, get a lot of feedback into this.
Yes, and also we can distribute it by emails to our members and ask them to elaborate on the issue. Yes.
Right.
So anyone has some more comments?
I just wanted to explain that I added in the comment section some language from a report that was just issued by the UN Council on Human Rights and their subgroup on Indigenous rights. So this report is on repatriation of human remains as well as artifacts. And it just had a number of recommendations in it, and it's not final. It'll be final this fall. But I think it would behoove us as an industry, whether it's this committee or ICOM, that we're aware that this is out there. Again, I don't think it needs to be part of the definition.
But still, we also have in our new website and elsewhere we had a mission statement. Maybe we can add it. If it is not there, we can add it to the mission on the website as part of our mission.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It can be said that I like your passion about this issue, Linda, and I think it's important because it's not only in the States. It's even in Europe there were countries that they had colonies. And it's everywhere.
Right, and it's in such a state of flux right now, and that's kind of why I'm leaning towards keeping that definition really simple, but addressing these issues head on elsewhere.
So we can. I will have a look at the mission, and maybe we can just add it to the mission. So,
okay.
So
I have a question.
Yes, Feda.
So I found that if I just email everyone in NATHIST, and there will only be very few people who in this room responding to the questionnaire or survey. Is there any way that you, everybody here would suggest me or suggest us to do to boost participation?
Okay, and also Linda and Crystal, we were talking about the lady from the History Matters session. This is Anita, who is here with us. She was interested. So, Breda, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yes, I'm here. So, Breda, Anita was the one that suggested the session about the History Matters in natural history museums. We were talking about our next year conference, and the topic was about using collections. Can you say it, Breda? I don't remember the exact words. Unmute yourself. You're not. You're mute. Breda, we cannot hear you. You're mute.
Yes, it's now it's okay. The oldest natural history collection as a challenge for research and public programs. That was the theme of the conference. If agreed, that is a proposal for the theme for the next year conference. Well, our museum has 200th anniversary. And it could be nice to gather it so that it has a purpose to be in Slovenia. So that's the theme, but it is just a suggestion, if agreed. We would like to have some invited persons. So I think Dorit thought something about that.
Yes.
Yes,
because
Anita,
Anita is conducting research in her museum. Anita, can you say some words about it?
Yeah, I just can present a little bit what we are doing in Berlin in the Natural History Museum. We, together with a colleague, I'm coming from history. I'm a historian, and I was working as exhibition curator with scientific collections. And we established since 2012 a department for cultural studies, what means more specific for history of science and museum studies. And our aim was to open a museum for other disciplines, especially for history of science, but also we opened it for questions from the art world. We invited contemporary artists to develop new artworks based upon our collections. And so the idea is to show that objects in a natural history museum can address and answer and inspire a much broader range of questions than only coming from the natural sciences. So this was the idea starting 8 years ago, and also the idea to bring current questions from the history of science, which is a quite sparkling discipline and field of academic field, into the Natural History Museum. So, and we had a research project in the last 3 years about the colonial past of our dinosaur, the Brachiosaurus brancae. Maybe if you have been in Berlin, it's this big one, the Guinness record book dinosaur in the dinosaur hall. And we talked about the excavation, transportation, the colonial context, and also another history that was not so present, that it was sent as a diplomat for economic affairs during the GDR to Japan to enhance and foster the economic relationships with Japan as Western country. So this was the idea, to really open the historical context of this very prominent star and icon object of our museum. And this was really in the heart, or we started before the debate about decolonization started in Germany. We start before Benedict Savoy, Selvin Farr were commissioned to work on colonial past in museums. And so we also want, we will continue now. So for us, it's very important historical context as a museum, because we are convinced that dealing with the past and sometimes very problematic past is very important when you want to shape the future. And so this was also the idea why talking about history that matters. So I really want to make a plaidoyer to integrate it in a to be. I like the idea of Nicola, I think, yeah, Nicola, awareness about colonial past, just to mention it, because I think it's really important to know where the objects came from, the specimen, the circumstances. It could explain a lot looking at what is going on today, nowadays. The past, it's not a way. It influenced now our present. And so, yeah, so this is what we are doing, and this was also the idea of History Matters. I'm a little bit unhappy because I only can participate tomorrow by History Matters at the beginning, and then I have another schedule. But yeah, so it's the
yeah, if it's all right, Anita, I will give your email to Breda, and then
yes,
you can
course.
keep on corresponding about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, with pleasure.
And anybody has more comments about our original discussion about the museum definition, or we can wrap it up? Anybody? So thank you very much for joining us. It was very important for us to hear your opinions about the new definitions. It's a big issue within ICOM. It's an argument everywhere. I'm also hearing from our national committee a lot of discussions about that. And once we will have the advisory in the end of July, I hope to have some more news about it, and I will share with you the news and discussions and decisions made within the advisory and the AGM on the end of July. So thank you very much for joining, and have a good day. Tomorrow we have a session about History Matters in the afternoon, and on Friday we have the session about Anthropocene with Nicholas. So you're invited to join us, and Fedra wants to say something.
Yeah.
Fedra?
So again, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So sorry again for the technical problems. It's actually our first time holding a meeting with Google Meet with so many people. We actually just held our board meeting and it was fine. But now we have over like 16 people. So you see the maximum number of people showing on the screen is 16. It's 4 times 4. This is my first time realize this. But only for Monday we are using this Google Meet channel because they have the Spinnic, they have too many community meetings, so they're full. But for the rest of the days we'll be using Zoom. And according to the organizers, they will be sending emails for all the links to the meetings of the day at 2 hours before the first meeting of the day via email. So please do follow up with your email, and we'll be meeting on Zoom starting from tomorrow.
Okay. So thank you, and bye-bye, and see you during the week. Bye.